century, Neoclassicism was born out of rejection of the Rococo and late Baroque styles. Romanticism began in the same era, but its approach had to do with the modern or new rather than the traditional. In this unit, you will learn about neoclassical and romantic artworks. Their influences today were highly visible through the style of paintings, sculptures, and other artworks, adapted by the well-known artists internationally and also by some of our national artists. Some of the existing architectural structures convey the traits and characteristics of such periods. Neoclassicism, 1780 to 1840. The word neoclassic came from the Greek word neos, meaning new, and the Latin word classicus, which is similar in meaning to the English phrase first class. The Western movement in decorative and visual arts was called neoclassicism. It also applies to literature, theater, music, and architecture that were influenced by the classical art and culture of ancient Greece and ancient Rome. The neoclassical movement coincided with the 18th century Age of Reason, also known as the Age of Enlightenment. The art style in this period was brought about the new renewed interest in Greek and Roman classics. Neoclassical art pieces such as paintings, sculptures, and architecture generally portrayed Roman history which elevated the Roman heroes. Characteristics: portrayal of Roman history, formal composition, the use of diagonals to show the peak of an emotion or moment versus irregular moment, local color, overall lighting, and classical geostructure. Neoclassicism. This is the renewed interest in classical ideas and forms that influenced European and American society through idea, politics, and fine arts during the 18th and 19th century. It also refers to the art forms created after but inspired by the ancient times. This period was derived from the Classicism movement. Classicism. This is the period in which Greek and Roman principles and styles were reflected in society. Be careful not to interchange the two terms. Classicism refers to the art forms produced in antiquity or inspired by it afterward, while Neoclassicism refers to the art forms inspired by ancient times but created later. Neoclassical painting. Ideals of order and moderation in which artistic interpretations of classical Greeks and Roman history were restored to realistic portrayals. Neoclassical painters gave great importance to the costumes, settings, and details of classical subject matter without adding distracting details but with as much as historical accuracy as possible. Neoclassical artists. There are a number of neoclassical artists from Europe and the United States. Below are some of them. Jacques-Louis David, France. Jacques-Louis David was an influential French painter in the neoclassical style and considered to be the preeminent painter of the era. Marat. David's masterpiece shows the portrayal of a revolutionary martyr. This is a painting of the murdered French revolutionary leader Jean-Paul Marat. Napoleon crossing the Alps. The painting that showed a strongly idealized view of the real crossing that Napoleon and his army made across the Alps through the Great St. Bernard Pass in May 18,000. Oath of the Horati. It was a large painting that depicts a scene from a Roman legend about the dispute between Rome and Alba Longa. The three brothers, all of whom appeared willing to sacrifice their lives for the good of Rome, are shown saluting their father who holds their swords out for them. Jean-Auguste Dominique Ingres, 1780-1867, France. Ingres was a pupil of Jacques-Louis David. He was influenced by Italian Renaissance painters like Raphael, Nicolas Poussin, Botticelli, and his mentor Jacques-Louis David. His paintings were usually nudes, portraits, and mythological themes. He was regarded as one of the great exemplars of academic art and one of the finest old masters of his era. Famous artworks. Portrait of Napoleon on the imperial throne. The painting depicts Napoleon in his decadent coronation costume, seated upon his golden encrusted throne, hand resting upon smooth ivory walls during his reign. The painting was owned by the Corps Executive, which was a part of the French legislature. The painting was believed to be commissioned by Napoleon as King of Italy. The Apotheosis of Homer. The painting was a state commissioned by Charles X to have him remembered in the building works of the Louvre. The painting depicts an image of Homer receiving all the brilliant of Rome, Greece, and contemporary times. Neoclassical sculptures. The Neoclassical period was one of the great ages of public sculpture. Artists looked to Roman styles during the time of Alexander the Great for inspiration as well as style. Neoclassical sculptures. Antonio Canova, 1752-1822, Italy. Canova was a prolific Italian artist and sculptor who became famous for his marble sculptures that delicately rendered nude flesh. He opened the idea for portraying discrete sexual pleasures by using pure contours with his mythological compositions. Famous artworks: Psyche Awakened by Cupid's Kiss, a marble sculpture portraying the relationship of Psyche and Cupid. Washington. This is a marble sculpture of Washington currently displayed at North Carolina Museum of History. Bervel Thorvaldsen, Denmark. Thorvaldsen was the first internationally acclaimed Danish artist. He executed sculptures of mythological and religious themes characters. Christ, a marble sculpture image of resurrected Christ currently located at the Thorvaldsen Museum. Lion of Lucerne, a sculpture of a dying lion in Lucerne, Switzerland that commemorates the Swiss guards who were massacred in 1792 during the French Revolution. Neoclassical architecture. Neoclassical architectural style started in the mid-18th century. It turned away from the grandeur of Rococo style and late Baroque. In its purest form, the neoclassical architecture was a style principally derived from the architecture of classical Greece and Rome and the architectural design of the Italian architect Andrea Palladio. Types of neoclassical architecture. Temple style. Temple-style building design was based on ancient temple. These buildings were uncommon during the Renaissance as architects of that period focused mainly on applying classical elements to churches and modern buildings like palazzos and villas. Many temple-style buildings feature a pedestal, a continuous line of columns around a building, a rare feature of Renaissance architecture. Most famous temple-style buildings of the Neoclassical age: Pantheon, Paris, Bejakis Germain Soflot, British Museum, London, Robert's Mirk. La Madeleine de Paris by Pierre-Alexandre Vignon. Palladian style. Palladian buildings were based on Andreas Pallagi's style of villa construction. Some of the buildings features a balustrade which is railing with vertical supports along the edge of the roof. There are vertical supports within a balustrade known as balusters or spindles. It is also a classical method of crowning a building that has a flat or low-lying roof. One of the famous architects in this era was Robert Adam. 1728-1792 Britain. He was known as the Palladian architect of the Neoclassical who designed two well-known American civic buildings, the White House and the United States Capitol. He had also designed many country houses. Romanticism, 18,000s-1810s. Romanticism was a movement in which the artists of neoclassical period sought to break new ground in the expression of emotion, both subtle and stormy. It embraced a number of distinctive themes such as longing for history, supernatural social injustices in nature. Landscape painting also became more popular during the people's romantic adoration of nature. Romanticism was a reaction to the classical, contemplative nature of neoclassical pieces. Characteristics: height of action, emotional extremes, celebrated nature as out of control, dramatic compositions, heightened sensation, life and death moments. Romantic painting portrays figures. The paintings of the Romantic period gave more emphasis and emotion. Artists expressed as much as feeling and passion as it could be on a canvas. Painters of the Romantic period: Jean-Louis Théodore Géricault, 1791-1824. Géricault was the first French master and the leader of the French realistic school. His masterpieces were energetic, powerful, brilliantly colored, and tightly composed. Famous artworks: The Wrath of the Medusa. The Wrath of the Medusa portrays the victims of a contemporary shipwreck. The people on this raft were French immigrants en route to West Africa. Charging Cheshire. His first major work revealed the influence of the style of Rubens and an interest in the depiction of the contemporary subject matter. Insane Woman, one of several portraits Géricault made of the mentally disabled that has a peculiar hypnotic power. Eugène Delacroix. Delacroix was considered the greatest French romantic painter of all. He achieved brilliant visual effects using small, adjacent strokes of contrasting color. He was the most influential to most of romantic painters, and eventually his technique was adopted and extended by the Impressionist artists. Famous artworks: Liberty Leading the People. Francisco Goya. Francisco Goya was a commissioned romantic painter by the King of Spain. He was also a printmaker, regarded both as the last of the old masters and the first of the moderns. Famous artworks: The 3rd of May, Saturn devouring his son, The Burial of Sardine.